Good day. In this particular video, I'd like to show you one way of combining data for reporting. So what I even mean by that, let me explain this quickly. So if you remember, and we'll switch to the spreadsheet in a second, but if you remember, we have two main sheets, tabs for reporting purposes. So we have the transactions data, and we have on the other side the open positions. I'll call this open positions. And the way it works is the following. Imagine you open you sell a put. Okay, so this will create a new entry, a new row in this transaction spreadsheet. And imagine you sell a put for $1. Okay. Subsequently, given you open the position, there will be an open position here, and this will be fetching the live price of this particular put option. Okay, and it will tell you, so for instance here, you can buy it back for $1, given it's just been opened. Okay. All right, so it's $1, and then a few days later, imagine this option is not $1 anymore; it's worth $2. So you're losing money. It's the market's going down, and you're kind of losing money here. And you decide to roll your position. So what roll means is that you will close down this entire position. Here, let me just do this. You will close this position. Therefore, you will create a new entry in your transaction, and that will be buyback for $2. And then you will open a new position, so that will be a third row in your transaction, and it will say, okay, sell another put. Let's say you roll it out in time for, hopefully you trade it, so $2.2. Okay. As a result, in the open position tab, you will have this new put that you can, for now, buy back for $2.2. Okay. And as time passes, imagine the market goes back up, and then this is eventually going to $0.4. And then you decide, okay, I'm going to buy it back for $2 and close this position. Again, that's not the right. Close this position, and therefore this will be a new entry here. Red, buy for, I can't remember what I said, 0.4, let's say. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. All right, so all in all, so that's you made money here, plus, minus, plus, and that's minus because you buy back. So that would be 1.2 minus 0.4, that would be 0.8. So total, realized P&L of 0.4 or 0.8. As it's 1.2 minus 0.4, that's 0.8. Okay. All right. So 80% of whatever you had in the first place. So in order to track all of this, then obviously you need, throughout the life cycle of this very simple case, because it's only one leg, you need to pretty much say these things are linked together. All right, so this trade and this trade are kind of linked together, and I'd like to see the value of the entire position. And again, it's very simple when it's one leg, but it's more complicated when you have several legs, several DTs, etc., etc. But the principle applies. So in order to do this, because there are two separate sheets, what I usually do is I create an additional column in each of these. Okay, and this column will be called, in my case, group. Okay, so I've got two. So one in here and one in here. Another column is the same ID, group. And what matters is that I use a unique identifier in all of these positions. Okay, so in this case, I need to put a unique identifier, like a name. For instance, in my case, the example, I'm going to use trade 1. But this will be the same identifier used throughout, and therefore it will be easier to see what's going on. Okay, so that's kind of the theory behind it, and I'll show you in practice how to do this. So here we are in a spreadsheet. These are the two tabs that we are going to look at: transaction raw data and position raw data. Okay, and the first thing you notice is I've created a new group. This is completely manual. This is not fetched by the tool. I created a group and I've put trade 1 in some of these open positions. Positions raw data. That's the open positions. That's what's ongoing, and this is kind of the live price, although it's not live yet. But you get the point. Similarly, in the transaction raw data, I've got a bunch of I created a new column as well, and I've got a bunch of trade that I've labeled as trade 1 as well. Okay, so this is something you have to do manually. There is no secret formula or anything magic here. And anytime there is a new trade being added, you need to categorize it if you want to report on it. Otherwise, you won't be able to make the link between these two things. Okay, so here we are, two new columns, and manually entered some group ID. So how do I go about concatenating all of this so that I can report on this? I use a combination of the array function or concatenation in Google Spreadsheet, which is this curly brace, open curly brace. Let me zoom in a bit. This is the curly brace that you need to use. And I'll be using this, and I'll show you an example here. So for instance, I could say symbol. That would be the first thing I put in this array. So that is a simple example. And then semicolon to go to the next row. And then I can say, give me the symbol, all the symbols from this particular spreadsheet, which is this guy here, and closing curly brace. And here I can say I don't want to include the first row, which already has a header. So I'll start from G2 and hit enter. Okay, as you can see now, I've got this G2, whatever it is, symbol. It's not necessarily the right one, the one I wanted. Let me see. It's more B2 that I want. Let me go back in here and change that to B2. B2 to B. Oops. Okay. Here we are. So now I've got I just referencing the first column of these transaction raw data. Similarly, I could add right after this with a semicolon all of the position raw data with the same symbol. So I could just say also include A2 to A. Okay. All right, let's hit enter and scroll down a bit. So here we have some kind of empty rows. And then if I keep going, you'll see at some point Here we are. I've got my uh, the, the, the symbols from the other spreadsheet. Okay, so I've kind of concatenated the two columns together. And there is a bit of a problem because there are lots of empty rows, but you can easily filter this out. Okay, so this is, in essence, what I'm doing here. I'm creating a new array, combining these two things together. I'll just show you the entire formula, and I've pasted this in the slide as well. But basically, what I'm doing here is I'm saying, all right, let's concatenate symbol, value, and group. And I'm getting this value from, this column. For the value, it's a bit of a formula because it requires, the quantity, the credit, etc., for both the position and the rotated transactions. There is a bit of a formula involved, nothing fancy. And then I'm just filtering out anything that is of length 0. So anything that is empty is being filtered out. Anyway, you can copy this formula. I'll share the link of this spreadsheet with you. In essence, what this does, it creates a single table with all of my open position and transactions, right? One after each other. And every time the value updates, every time you fetch new data, all of this, because these are reference, will be updated automatically. Okay. And obviously, you can see that some of these have been marked as with a similar trade ID. Okay. Once I have this value, then it's really simple to create a report. So for instance, one can simply select the 3 columns, say insert pivot table in a new spreadsheet, in a new sheet. And then I can add, let's say, group as a row, value as a value, and add a filter. I don't want to group anything that is blank, for instance. And here we are. For this trade one, I have I directly have the overall result, which is a sum of all of these transactions. And similarly, if I had many groups, I could see the unrealized P&L as well as realized. If there is nothing in the open positions anymore, it will be realized. But in this case, it's unrealized because it's still going on. All right, so that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is very simple as well. You can use, the filter formula, like very exactly same thing. I can say filter all the data in column B2, which is a value. All data B2 is a value. Filter all of these values where the group ID is equal to this, trade 1, and do a sum of all of these data. If I just show you, this without the sum, you'll see the filter command give me all the values. And obviously, you need to sum them up so that you can come up with the actual unrealized P&L. So I hope that this is useful and kind of explain how you would go about combining reports. This, again, is the code if you are interested. This is the example I've put together, so you can easily download that and have a look. Yeah, I'll put the link in the description as well, in the video description. If you have a question, feel free to click on go to my website and ask me questions. This is the actual spreadsheet that you might need in order to get started. Yeah, and feel free to leave comments if you are interested or if there's anything unclear. Thank you for your attention.